Hi Legion, John Hittler, co-founder of Evoking Genius and co-creator of the Genius Discovery Process, with another edition of Pure Genius. Have you been asked to be a mentor? Who, me? Who, me? Yeah, you. Have you, as a protege, have you tried to find a mentor? Wow, I hadn't thought of it. Well, more and more companies are going to this platform of a mentoring culture. Well, it begs two questions. Do you know how to be a mentor? And do you know how to be a protege? If you're going to put that in your team or in your culture, you better know the answer to both. Well, it's a great platform for companies because it's super cost effective and connects people relationally. There's two things that work, and one thing that works and one thing that doesn't work. We're going to go through all of that today. Well, I coach CEOs, entrepreneurs, team leaders, and individuals to create lasting behavior change by making transformation safer and more effective than standing still. Mentoring is a great way to transform your culture. So we're going to take that on today. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to outline really what mentoring is. And we all understand it intuitively, but really, what does mentoring mean? Secondly, we'll give you a 5-step, most times there's a 4, but we're going to throw in a 5th for free. We're going to give you a 5-step foolproof approach to get tons of leverage out of mentoring relationships. And then we're going to outline who's responsible for what. The mentor is responsible for this. The protege is responsible for this. So get all of that clear before you launch into this cultural transformation. You want to play? Great. Let's spin the big wheel. So first and foremost, what the heck really is mentoring? Because we kind of have a sense. I mean, you go, oh, well, mentoring is kind of like an older guy walks along a younger guy, and and they get, well, yeah. What really is it though? It's not really coaching. It's not really consulting. It's not really teaching. It's actually a little of both, but it's primarily a teaching platform. Great. So we start with that. It's a teaching platform. Now here's what Harvard Business Review says, because they're smarter than I am, so I rely on them for a good definition. Otherwise, I would just make it up. Here's their definition. It's a process for informal transmission of knowledge and social capital. Wow, that's smarter than I would have come up with. Maybe, was it smarter than what you came up with too? Shh, don't tell anybody. It's an informal transmission of knowledge and social capital. Really, that's a perfect definition for mentoring, because the trick is, what if you have ambitions as a protege to one day be a VP? What do you need to study? What do you need to learn? What competencies do you need? A lot of that is subtle. It's informal. You have to learn leadership. Oh, maybe you have to learn charisma. Maybe you have to learn hard work. Maybe you have to learn politics. Those are all social capital. There's a lot of power in that, and that's going to be learned better in an informal, relational mode as opposed to an academic mode. You can't go to business school to learn the intricacies of politics in your specific organization. You have to play them. So that's the first one. The second, it's relevant to work, career, personal, or professional development. So you could have a mentor, for instance, in your training. You say, you know what, I've never run a marathon before. I hired a coach or I hired a mentor. He's run 30 of them, and I'm going to run alongside him. I'm going to do what he says, and I'm going to meet with him informally and track my progress and my soreness and my speed bumps. Where do I hit a block? You do it for almost anything, especially as it comes to the nuances that you get other than just the knowledge transfer. It's informal communication, normally face-to-face. Now that could be video Skype or GoToMeeting or any online platform, Zoom or any of them. There's a lot of them. And it's over a substantial period of time. So informal communication, face-to-face, over a substantial period of time. This is not, you don't hire a mentor for a quick project, a 90-day project. You hire a mentor because it's relationally based. As the relationship gets deeper and grows, the mentor has more value. Makes sense. One person is perceived to have greater wisdom, knowledge, and power. They are the mentor. The other person is perceived to have less wisdom, knowledge, and power. Perfect. That's the protege. Now note, there's no age restriction on who the mentor is and who the protege is. We see a lot of companies now where the protege, especially in things like social media, is the millennial. So you got a 24-year-old as the mentor, and the protege is a 55-year-old senior manager who goes, tweeting? What is tweet? Why am I tweeting? What? I don't quite, Tinder? I don't quite get. The millennials get it intuitively, and they can actually mentor the baby boomers. Great. There's no age discrimination on who's the protege and who's the mentor. One is perceived to have more knowledge, power, and wisdom. That's all. So that's the dynamics of mentoring, like really a distinctions for it. Great, if those things are in place and your company says, yeah, let's take this on, great. So next what we'll take on is the 5-step. Now remember, most places give you a 4. I'm going to give you a 5 just because I can. The 5th one is the leverage piece, and I'm all about leverage. So here's the most effective and simplest way to get great value out of a mentoring relationship, whether you're a protege or the mentor. Step 1, I'm the mentor, I do, you watch. Oh, okay. Step 2, I do, you do. Okay, simple, still simple. Step 3, you do, I watch. And then step 4, we'll call it D, you do. You got it? How simple is that? But remember, step 5, bonus, give yourself credit if you might have known this one. It's not in most approaches. We add it because it adds a ton of leverage and depth. Step 5, the big bonus round, you teach. The protege teaches. Why? Why does that leverage? When you do something, so let's say I'm going to mentor you in how to give your car a tune-up. Well, the first time, I do and you watch. Second time, I do and then you do. Third time, you do, I watch, and the 4th time, you do. Here's that 5th step. You teach. As the protege, you teach. Not teach me, the mentor. Teach somebody that doesn't know it. When you do it, you figure it out based on how your brain works, how your skills and abilities are, how you hear and listen and communicate. When you teach, you get an incredibly richer learning by having to teach it. That's why it's the bonus, extra, 20% more for free, 25% more for free, 5th step. Teach. Great. So that's the simple approach. Now, whether that's social capital like leadership or charisma or politics at work or at home, or whether that's something more mundane, the approach works well. Very effective, very simple, easy to roll out. But who's responsible for what? The mentor. What's the mentor responsible for? Well, let's go through that real quickly. This adds depth and power to your approach. As the mentor, your mentality, your theme, your context, I would call it, should be all about giving back. If you're the mentor, did you have a great boss early on, or a great team leader, or a great CEO, or you worked in a great company where you learned a ton and you're still using the lessons you learned? Why not come to the mentoring relationship when you're the mentor as an opportunity to give back because you received early in your career? It's a great approach, great theme to have. Perfect. It's relationally based. We talked about that. Well, if it's relationship based, your job as the mentor is to bring joy to the relationship. What? Joy? I'm giving my time. If it's not joyful for you, it certainly won't be joyful for the protege. Now, you get a gold star and a smiley face if you recognize how to bring joy to the relationship. Who knows? Anybody? Bueller? Bueller? Fry? Bueller? No, no one knows. All right, I'll give you the answer on this one. Here's how you bring joy to anything and everything, and there's only one way. I'll use an analogy. If you want to get strong muscles, or let's say big muscles, you want big biceps, you want a big pecs, or you want six-pack abs, or strong glutes, you don't start with that as your goal. That's an outcome that you may end up with, but you can't just say, I'm going after big muscles. What you have to do is you have to do the activity that will bring stronger, firmer, toner, bigger muscles, which is something like lift weights, exercise, get moving. Clear? So when you get moving, the outcome is I get stronger, toner, bigger muscles. It's the same thing with joy. People say, oh, I'm all about joy. And they want to start with joy. And here's what it looks like. It looks like posting sappy, hallmarky quotes online and then being miserable and taking antidepressants. It won't work. There's one road and one path only to joy. And that is actively expressing gratitude. When you actively express gratitude, what results is the possibility of joy. You're not guaranteed it, but that's the one way you can do it. So if you're the mentor and your job is to bring joy to the relationship, you can translate that as actively express gratitude for the relationship. Clear? You'll end up with joy in the relationship. It will look like your most treasured time with anyone, or with almost anyone, is your relationship with your protege. It's your job as the mentor to bring that. Okay, set expectations early with your protege. Now, notice I said expectations, not goals. We'll get to goals in a sec. Expectations are things like we have regularly scheduled times. Show up on time, honor the time, or if you have a conflict, let me know at least a day in advance. The last thing you want is a phone call 15 minutes before your face-to-face meeting with your protege when you're downtown at a lunch place where you decided to meet, and then you get a text from your protege saying, sorry, something came up, I can't make it. But set those expectations up front for time, for regularity, for purpose, for the themes you guys want, how you want to be in the relationship. That's what the expectations are. Now, also set goals. Now, you as the mentor, your job is to edit or expand the goals. The protege's job is to create them. So your protege creates, you edit or expand. Got it? But have goals. So a year from now, you say, gosh, what do you want to achieve? Concrete goals as a result of the mentoring and protege relationship. Very important, but different from expectations. You want both expectations, that's behavior, and goals are outcomes. You want both of them. So let the protege have conversation about that as well. Advise rather than dictate. I'll show you what this looks like. You've got a teenager at home, they've got chemistry, it's junior year, it's a lab science, and they're not doing very well. When you see their latest midterm and it comes home that they got a D+ or a C-, and you go, what the? You need a tutor. We're getting you a tutor right now. What does your teenager go? I'll translate. Here's probably their exact words. Does your teenager have that one? That's teenage language. I've raised gazillions of them. I'm on my 8th and 9th teenagers raising. And that's what they say. They say, Mom, Dad, why are you making me do that? Well, because when you dictate you're getting a tutor, it's received like, I get no choice. So as the mentor, it's the same thing. If your teenager says, Mom, Dad, I'm failing chemistry, it's so hard, here's what advising versus dictating looks like. Well, how could you raise your grade? Let them figure it out. They may say, well, could you drop me off at school earlier so I could meet with the chemistry teacher and just get some help? Sure, we'd be happy. Now, you're advising, and they're creating the outcome. Or they may say, I know it costs money, but is it possible for me to get a tutor a couple days a week? All you do, here's the way to turn dictation into advising. You simply phrase it as a question. Instead of saying, you're getting a tutor, which is dictate, you change that to a question. Well, do you think a tutor would help? Now you're offering. You're advising and allowing them to say, could we? I think a tutor might really help. Guess what? The relationship between them and their tutor will go a lot smoother when it's their idea versus your mandate. Protege-mentor relationships work the same way. You don't want to dictate to your protege. You want to advise and let them make the choices. Truth is, if they continue to not make good choices, you'll break it off after a while. You'll say, we're not getting very far. But advise rather than dictate. Use examples. Now, when I say use examples, what I really mean is use culturally relevant examples. So don't tell them about the start of your career in 1987. And they go, I'm a millennial. I wasn't even born until the 90s. You're out of touch when you use old, I'll call it, old geezer stories if you're older than your protege. So use culturally relevant examples. That could be anything from Jay-Z and Beyonce, you could give an example about them, to things that happened in your workplace or in your culture within the last year, because that's relevant. They'll remember it, and it's part of their experience in life. Absolutely use culturally relevant examples and metaphors and analogies. They've got to be culturally relevant. And the last is provide regular evaluation to your protege. You want to schedule that in and say, maybe it's quarterly. You say, great, we're going to do a little evaluation. Now, is this a report card? No, you're just taking stock of goals, objectives, progress. You want that regularly scheduled in your relationship and in your meetings. So that's the mentor. You got it? Pretty simple. And you know what? Kind of fun. How about if you're the protege? Oh, great. I'd love to be a protege. Yeah, I'd love to have a mentor with 10 years more experience, practical in this company or in life, to walk me through how do I become a VP or a director or a team leader, or how do I just pass my probationary period? Well, if you're the protege, here's your responsibility. First and foremost, know why you want a mentor in the first place. Not know what you want to do with a mentor, know why. You say, you know what? I would really like to fill in the blank. That could be a long-term or a short-term vision connected to having a mentor. When you know why, you don't have to know exactly what or how, but have a good purpose for having a mentor relationship. That's step one. 2, your job as the protege is to create goals and have them approved or edited or enhanced by your mentor. So you create, as the protege, your mentor edits or expands. Claro? Okay. You listen first, then contribute secondly. You got a mentor whose job it is to informally transfer wisdom, knowledge, and experience. You should be listening more than speaking, especially at the beginning. Let the mentor lead, and then you contribute. They'll ask questions, they'll give you examples, they'll tell stories, but let them speak first, and then you contribute. Celebrate your successes. Your job is to say, hey, guess what? I was able to do that thing. Ah, terrific. Let's celebrate. Now, does it need to be a big celebration? No, but you know that's funny? We're back to that express active gratitude. Imagine if you're the mentor and your protege sends you a text and says, thanks so much for your advice. It worked great. The team meeting or my PowerPoint presentation or the VP really had good things to say. I couldn't have done it without you. Terrific. Celebrate the success. Even in a text or an email, I would also suggest a handwritten note from time to time. Costs almost nothing to celebrate your successes, and we're back to that gratitude thing again. Express gratitude actively, or express active gratitude. Lastly, mentor someone else. As a protege, when you're ready, mentor someone else. Remember, the context is giving back. Well, so lastly, here's the thing. We see two kinds of companies adopting this strategy. It's a powerful strategy. One is it doesn't cost much. You got the whole company connected to each other. Great, you've got less experience with more experience. You've got power with not so powerful. You can transform your culture with this. But remember our chemistry, flunking chemistry in your teenager? When you mandate it, like either the CEO mandates it or HR mandates it, it loses its power. Because here's what it looks like. As of January 1st, every employee will be required to be in a mentoring or a protege relationship. Guess what you get? You get, what's the difference between a teenager and an adult? 10 years. Everybody's going to go, oh. No, they're not going to go, because they lose that as a teenager. But they're all going to go, are you kidding me? I got to find a mentor? Oh. Or I've got to have a protege tag along? Oh. Yeah, CEO mandate as of January 1st. So you better start looking. You know what you should do? As a friend of mine said about senior prom in high school, go ugly early, get it over with. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, maybe I should go ugly early. But that's what it looks like when it's mandated by the CEO or HR. Here's the other way to do it that works incredibly well and powerfully, and that is encourage it. Now, what does encourage versus mandate look like? Encourage is an invitation. And so, you know what? We're starting an initiative, a mentoring initiative in our company XYZ. Here's what it looks like. If you'd like some information, we're going to do a 2-hour rollout of what it might do for you and who might be possible candidates, and let people self-organize. Who will be the first ones to get mentors are the proteges who are ambitious and early adopters, because that's always how it happens in any society. So if 10% of the people say, 90 days later say, you know what, it's made a huge difference. I can't tell you exactly what's going on because it's confidential, but it's really made a big difference. People go, wow, you know, I've noticed he's happier at work and he's doing really well and he's going to get a promotion and I'm kind of, maybe I should get a mentor or protege. When it's encouraged versus mandated, the cultural transformation sticks way better. And the mood and attitude around it in your team is much better as well. So our advice, strong advice, is to encourage and invite rather than mandate. You clear? Great. Well, I want to wrap up. And in wrapping up, I acknowledge you for wanting to get better. You wouldn't get a mentor if you didn't want to get better. You would not be a mentor if you didn't want to give back. Both are part of a transformational lifestyle. And my hat's off to you for playing that way. Secondly, if this was helpful, like and share this with your community. They'll be glad you did because they'll get benefit from it too. Until we meet again on Pure Genius, all the best.